What's up everybody, and welcome to the first ever review here on CRG Quest. Today, we're talking about Lies Beneath, a first-person VR horror title with a comic book art style from developer Drifter Entertainment. Let's take a look. Starting off with gameplay, it's top-notch. Trudging through dark snowy forests, across frozen lakes, dead towns, and more, you'll be fighting demons all along the way. Combat's here very often, but not constant enough that there's no room for horror and atmosphere. Making your way through fighting demons, opening doors, and getting creeped out, you'll come across lanterns and campfires serving as checkpoints and safe zones connecting each of the 20 chapters. Picking up collectibles and lore items unlocks things like extra ammo and weapons at each campfire, so be sure to grab all that you can find. Your health is determined in a very cool way by looking at the amount of blood on your hands. The more blood on your hands, the less health you have. This is even more intuitive because it removes the need for any HUD-like health bar or anything on the screen. I played on the Oculus Quest 2, and the graphics are pristine. No jagged edges, no blur, and no real possibility of draw distance issues due to a fog throughout most of the dark game. The fog works in a way that it adds to the game and atmosphere really well too. Then there's the comic book art style. They nailed this and I love it. The crates, the weapons, the text, it's all comic art and it looks exactly the way you want it to. I love games with unique art styles, and Lies Beneath 100% delivers on this. Most of the story is told through comic book text in the world. So like, say you're walking up to a bridge over a frozen lake. On your right, on the tree next to that bridge, you might see some comic text boxes giving some story and letting you know what your character May is thinking about and where she's going. I hate subtitles or text popping up in VR games, and it drives me crazy, even though I watch pretty much all movies and shows with subtitles. However, in Lies Beneath, the method they use here worked really well, and I actually felt like it enhanced the experience. I really enjoyed learning the story this way, and it was a very artistic way of delivering information. Speaking of the story, it's actually really great. I didn't have much hope for it from the description, but it's much better than it leads you to believe. I don't want to say anything about it except for bare bones stuff really. So, you and your father crash in the middle of a blizzard. You survive and begin following a blood trail with nothing but a lighter, hoping to find your father. Things start to take a turn for the demonic and it gets a lot deeper. A large amount of the story is actually told in lore found as collectibles throughout the game. Finding and reading these will make a difference in how much you understand the story, especially with the multiple endings, but you'll still get and enjoy the story just from the text boxes if you ignore lore items, and yes, I did say multiple endings. So graphics and story, both awesome, and I don't really have anything bad to say about either of them, except that a good amount of the finer details are hidden as the lore are collectibles and can cause you to miss out on the story a little bit if you don't go searching for all of them. Though the game is pretty linear, so searching isn't too bad. Sadly, horror in games and movies hasn't been able to scare me for years. So let's talk about the quality of the horror in this game. This game did get me a few times. The problem with horror and me is that I've had so much experience with it is that I can always tell when a scare or something is coming, just making me prepared for it. Same goes for if it's cheap or not creative. There were a good few places I entered here and started walking around and thought to myself, alright, this is pretty creepy. They did this really well. It's not quite enough to get someone as broken as me really scared, but most people are going to get what they came for, maybe even more. I did jump a couple of times though, due to a couple of creative, high quality scares. This was a true joy for me, and seems like it's been years since this happened. So a huge thumbs up to Drifter Entertainment on that. Both the melee and ranged weapons feel great and act accordingly. Most weapons reload by opening and closing the wheel on your revolver, pumping your shotgun, or ejecting and pushing a magazine back in. Nothing special about the reloads, but they work and they don't take anything away. The combat feels great, and I can't even describe how much fun and how accurate throwing melee weapons is in this game. The physics work great on everything from the accuracy of throwing something to cutting a board, dislocked a door, and then pushing the door open with your machete. There are plenty of different ways to play too. like holding your lighter in one hand with the flame on gives you a reticle to aim with and shows weak spots on an enemy for you to then shoot with the gun in your other hand. The only negative I have here is every now and then a bullet wouldn't hit where it was supposed to. It would miss the target and hit the wall, even though the reticle was dead centered. This didn't happen very often though. This game takes about 6 to 8 hours to beat depending on how you play, so it has the length, but then on top, there are the multiple endings, collectibles, and extra lore all for you to find and play through again, so there's a good amount of replayability here. Doesn't mean I don't wish it was a little longer, but it's longer than most single player VR games. Then there are the different difficulties, and they are different enough that they are worth an extra playthrough. They aren't changing anything big in the game like areas or the story, rather how you go about playing the game. Food, weapons, and ammo become far less plentiful on other difficulties, and enemies deal much more damage. You might go through the game the first time shooting or meleeing everything, but when you go up a difficulty, you might have to change your tactics, like always holding your lighter in one hand for that aiming reticle to make more accurate shots and conserve more ammo. Or maybe you play with the axe in one hand and the 9mm in the other. Whatever it takes. It all works well enough and is enjoyable enough that I'm going to be replaying on a harder difficulty, getting the other endings, and then just speedrunning the game for fun from then on. So in conclusion, I have almost nothing but great things to say about Lies Beneath. If you're looking for a horror game or simply just a really good game to play on your new Oculus Quest 2, Lies Beneath is it at the top of the list. At $19.99, it has everything. This is the first video I've ever done on this channel, and the first review I've ever done, period. I plan on reviewing as many games on the Quest as I possibly can going forward, hopefully each new game as it releases. So please let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.